I don't know what I'm gonna title this one. See if we can keep it under 10 minutes though. Drugs, alcohol, sex, sleep. I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna title this, but let's start off with what alcohol does to your sex life, right? So if you the type of person that goes out, well, just talk about the guy side. Because females' anatomy is different, man. But some of the stuff I say, it'll be for both genders, but let's just talk about this alcohol thing. You're a male, okay? So again, you trying to go out to the club and you trying to be around these women that are good looking. I mean, just because a woman goes to a club and dances and all that, it doesn't mean she fast. But somehow this whole scene got it set up where the fine girls, the ones that you really want to get up on, they're around the nightlife, right? That's just the way it is. There's nothing you could do about that. Okay, so you're a guy, you want to be around some nines and some tens, so you start hanging around this club life and stuff like that, and somehow, some way, alcohol is going to be involved with that. Not only, uh, you know, because it's part of the nightlife. Let's just face it, alcohol well, it helps you get rid of the edge because you're nervous. A lot of guys don't like to admit this, but okay, so you going out to nightlife, it's not like you do that every weekend. So you do it maybe say once or twice a month. Okay, so you finally around some nines and tens, and you just hyped up. You need to but you got to get that edge off at the same time, so you can smooth things over and sneak up on these girls. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I always say, I don't have no game because I don't play games. You know, sometimes you need alcohol just to come out of character because let's face it, life is so rigid. Look, you got to work, you got to show up on time, you got things that's whipping you on your back all the time. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a good dancer. Because I mean, I once made a joke. I said, can you imagine some people are good at, like, you could be really good at one thing, you ain't gonna be good at another thing. You ever notice? That's why I was talking about this universe is strange. I'm going to title this random topics. The universe is weird. You A lot of times you come across women who real fine, but they'll be missing, one thing. The universe has a setup where you just really good at, or you really have something good in one area. You can't have everything. You can't have it all. Sometimes you'll run across a woman, you know, um, she'll have really nice whatever, and then the other thing would be like just above average. And then you run across another woman in that one area, that one girl is above average. She'd be banging in that area, but then she'd be just above average in that woman you just seen that was banging in that. It's just the universe of how you're literally chasing your tail. Um, that's why you got to come to an equilibrium about what you want out here, man, because I mean, I'm telling y'all, this universe is set up to screw your mind up. That's why Bobby said you shouldn't desire nothing because you're going to be chasing your tail, man. What you want is in a little bit of everything. What you want is in young women. What you want is in older women. But back to this alcohol thing. So, you're trying to be around these nines and these tens, right? That you normally do not see. But all of a sudden you show up to a club and they go all in nines and tens. And you know, you gotta somehow be the smoothest mother up in there. Especially if you ain't rich already and everybody don't know you. So you want to drink some alcohol to get rid of your ego. But here's the problem with alcohol. That let's say you get to hit, right. After a few times of going to a club, you get to hit one of the dimes, right. But it's too much energy now. Now you kind of I wouldn't use the word scared, but you're pretentious. You're being pretentious with your own ego. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't. It is what it is. You can't be that smooth over something you just never really see, and all of a sudden it's just bam in your face, and then you're supposed to be all comfortable about it. So you drink alcohol. The problem with alcohol and sex is that alcohol does to sex the same thing it does to your sleep. So you drink alcohol, you feel real sleepy, and you go to sleep, but it messes up your sleep state. Like if you drink alcohol even 2 or 3 times a week, it'll mess up your whole sleep cycle. Even if you drink, I hate to tell y'all, even if you drink alcohol once a week, it will mess up your sleep cycle. You got to be very careful with alcohol. It will make you feel like you're sleepy, but you won't reach that REM stage. And if you don't reach that REM sleep stage, you're going to start to age. You're not going to be sleeping well. You're not going to be thinking well. And you won't pinpoint that it's coming from the alcohol sometimes until somebody like tell you, or you read it from somewhere, or you just stop drinking alcohol. You like, wait a minute. I first found this out over a decade ago from Bobby Hemmett. Okay, that alcohol messes up your sleep. And then I was at that time, I used to have, I don't know, 2 or 3 drinks a week, and then the very next time, or very 2, 3, 4 times I drunk some alcohol, I noticed I couldn't recover the next 2 or 3. Especially I was always in the gym a lot, and right around that time, well, I was never really a alcohol person to begin with, but right around the time where Bobby said that was when I started experimenting with alcohol. And so it lined up, and I said, man, he right. I said, I can't be drinking. I feel like shit. This thing don't make me feel good. This don't make me go to sleep. This ain't taking away my stress. See, so the same thing alcohol does to sleep, it does to your sex life. You drink alcohol. I told you guys the other day. You drink alcohol, and like, let's say a woman, you're around these guys who drink alcohol, got a drink in their hand while they talking to you. That guy is not the number one stunner. That's the guy that's slipping and falling in bed. In bed, okay. That's the guy that might not put it in the right hole. No, I'm just kidding. But um, when you get hard as a male and you're on alcohol, you're in bed with a woman, you're on alcohol, you really don't know what the hell you doing. You're drunk. It's like trying to be drunk playing a pickup game of basketball. Yeah, you might. I mean, if you're a pro athlete or something, yeah, some of them can get away with it. But average guy out here, you drink alcohol on a basketball court, you're gonna be off your rocker. You're not gonna play as good as if you're not drinking alcohol. It's the same thing with everything else. If you drink alcohol, you're not gonna have the best sex. If you drink alcohol, you're not gonna sleep. If you drink and play basketball, you're not gonna be playing too well on the basketball court. Drinking alcohol screws up everything for you, everything. But somehow you need it to smooth things over because you're around these 9s and 10s. How you gonna smooth things over? That's why some people deal with the ecstasy drug. I told you guys when I was 28 years old, I was able to experiment with this ecstasy drug because at the time you could get that stuff off the streets and it was pure. That's when they had it on the streets in its purest form. And so I tried it because I don't have when it comes to drugs and alcohol, I don't have an addictive behavior with that type of stuff. I'll go out, have a good time, but I'm never gonna be the type of person that's gonna be out drinking every weekend. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna ruin my health over drugs. It would never happen. Okay, so that's why I advise people to take GABA to calm their nerves and to get rid of stress in their life. And I've been taking it since for the last 17 years. So the proof is in the pudding. GABA might even have something to do with the way I look at my age and stuff like this because of the human growth hormone. But anyway, just to get back to the alcohol thing, alcohol will screw up everything. That's why I say that these women who around these lifestyles that could be around, guys that drink alcohol, they not around the number one stunners, because the number one stunner is a borderline nerd. The number one stunner is the guy that's doing what he's supposed to do, and ain't around uh, women that are nines and tens. They're just not around. That's how I know women ain't around no number one stunners. They can pretend all they want. It's not happening. The guy that's the number one stunner that you need to hook up with for the cure is a borderline nerd. He's taking care of his business. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's responsible, and he's taking care of his testosterone. Now let's move. There's this whole ecstasy thing. So we know, okay, so ecstasy now, that's something that actually works, but you can't take ecstasy all the time. I experimented with ecstasy. I got to experiment with that, and it did totally get rid of the ego. When you around a dime, a woman 9 or 10, it totally got. I mean, think about the Native American girl, guys. Why? Once again, that's why you guys keep hearing me mention that, because that was some of the best sex I had ever had in my life. We had both, took the ecstasy pill. I think 2 or 3 times out of time she drove to come see me, and it was unbelievable. I mean, when you're a guy and you don't have to worry about busting a nut and then it being over, now it's like you like a woman now. You can come as many times as you want until you just fall out sleep, something like that, right? But then you'll wake up 2 hours later and you be hitting it again. I mean, that's what ecstasy does. It makes it intense. It enhances that sexual desire. At the same time, it gets rid of the ego. So now y'all both just machines. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And um, that's why the whole one night stand thing is not good either. It's like it's too intense. On both sides. It's too intense. How you gonna get rid of the ego from a one night stand? And even if you're in a relationship and you sleeping with your woman, it depends. Sometimes it might take 2 or 3 months before you get actually comfortable with your girlfriend having sex. Sometimes it might take a year or two. How long does it take before you can make your girlfriend squirt, right? Well, my girlfriends that I had that were long term, one of them it took almost 3 years. But then when you got it, you got it. I don't be honest with you. I don't think it would take that long. I was young, but that's something, guys. If you see that on porn, a woman squirt, so now you're thinking, man, how can I make a woman squirt? Sometimes but it has nothing to do with the man. It has to do with the woman. And sometimes it might take the woman 2 years before she's comfortable with having sex with her own boyfriend. And but that's the thing about older women. Older women are more. See, that's what makes the sex better with older women, because they're more comfortable with their bodies. They've already accepted who they are. They've already gotten over their ego. So you'll find that sex is better with older women than it is when young women still worrying about all this stuff, and all she have is so-called perfect body. That's all she got. Everything else is lackluster. The sex, everything. It's the older woman who got the good good. It's the older woman who really enjoying the sex so much that she have a guy. You thinking you did something when you got with that older woman, because she was hooting and hollering, and maybe she squirted and all, and it was only like the first or second time. No, it wasn't you. It was not you who did it. That's why the guy is kind of irrelevant, man, in the whole sex life. We get to that later, but it's not you who made her squirt. She's just comfortable now. She's an older woman now, and she's comfortable in her sexuality. That's why it was so good. That's why you didn't need alcohol to smooth things, or you didn't need drugs with her or whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out, y'all. But yeah, you can't take ecstasy every time you have sex either. That ecstasy, I think that summer I experimented with it. I took a pill. I tried it like twice a month, and I say around the third or fourth month that summer, I knew I couldn't. It was messing with my mind, you know. And then after that summer, the next woman I got with that I did not, try an ecstasy pill with, the sex was lackluster. And that's when I knew. I said, well, you can't be messing around with ecstasy either. You can only do that like 1 or 2 times, and you gotta leave it alone for about a year. You see, that's how I go. That's how that go. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say. Oh, ecstasy will mess up your sleep too, even though the first time it makes sense. So, yeah, that's why I was saying everything is irony, everything is backwards, and that's why I'm not surprised at all that any woman will be interested in me if she's a 9 or 10 and she's a dime. Of course she gonna be, because maybe now she's wise enough to realize what that number one stunner is.